Let's get weird!
Nearly 2 years before the Avengers comic launched, Marvel took their first shot at DC's Justice League with what they called their first family, the Fantastic Four. So go ahead and just forget about the Avengers. Of course, after Iron Man 3, I think everybody has.
Got a lot of apologies to make.
You got that right, Skeezix. Now, the Fantastic Four was a very easy comic book story to do, mainly because you need to change very little in order to quote-unquote modernize it, and in fact most of the changes made to the story here were to the story's benefit rather than its detriment. The story is fairly simple. Reed Richards has found out that a cosmic storm once hit the Earth and could have sparked the evolution of modern life. Now the storm is returning and he needs a backer to get him and a science team into space in order to investigate it when it comes back by. Needless to say, things don't go well, but the mission does serve the purpose of introducing the characters quickly and giving a little backstory. After a malfunction, they all end up with superpowers, creating the Fantastic Four and the villainous Dr. Doom. All in all, this is a good representation of the Fantastic Four and fairly close to the source material with two major exceptions. That would be the Human Torch and Dr. Doom. You see, in the original comic books, the Human Torch was a teenager, whereas here they've turned him into a more of a mid-20s playboy, which works better for the character of the Human Torch. On top of that, it makes it much easier to explain why he would be in space as opposed to in the comic books they just brought him along. Dr. Doom in the comic books had very little to no powers and had nothing to do with any cosmic storm that gave the Fantastic Four their abilities. In fact, he was basically a genius, which isn't necessarily a superpower. He did know certain mystical powers, but he learned those from Tibetan monks. So they replaced that with him being hit by the storm and earning powers that way. It's a small change in reality, but it really does work well to give them more of a connection to each other. You see, in the comic books, the reason that Dr. Doom hated Reed Richards was because they had been working together on a science experiment and it went awry and basically fried his face, hence why he wears a mask. You see, in the movie, it's more along the lines of because of Reed Richards' mistake in the storm, Doom is losing everything. His business, his life, his girl, everything is crumbling, and in his eyes, it's all Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four's fault. This is what slowly leads his descent to madness depicted through the movie. Gillian McMahon does a really good job of showing that depiction, and in fact has very little dialogue scenes. It's mostly just him reacting. He does a fantastic job of it. The movie only has 3 scenes that really make you question what they were thinking. And let's start on the Brooklyn Bridge scene. Yeah, you probably all knew this was coming because this scene makes no goddamn sense. You see, these 3 need to get past the crowd and to Ben. Reed decides the only way is to get Sue there because she can become invisible. Now, why she didn't figure that out on her own, I don't quite understand, but that leads to maybe one of the biggest bonehead moments in the movie. Now, invisibility is used to infiltrate something. That means you don't want to be loud and showy. So you wouldn't want to turn invisible in the middle of a crowd. But as you can see, she does exactly that. Notice the entire crowd. Now, I'm not trying to say New Yorkers are blasé, but I'm pretty sure if there's a monster on the bridge, you're not going to turn around because there's a woman over here. I'm just saying. This is only here for one reason. The writer wanted to get Jessica Alba out of her clothes. I don't blame the man, but it could have been done much better. Anyway, then after she's re-invisible, she continues to undress because her powers work again. Figure that one out. Now, honestly, at this point, wouldn't you be looking for Plan B? I would. And if you're looking for a distraction, wouldn't the Human Torch be a much better idea? I'm just saying. And then as you can see, all 3 of them get through with absolutely no problem. So yeah, this scene had no purpose. Now, a smarter way to do this scene would have been to have first of all had them try to distract the crowd either by saying, look over there, while she went behind the cab. This way she could go invisible and, wouldn't be noticed by the crowd, kind of the entire point of infiltration. Then she could have snuck by, getting past the crowd without any injury, and they could have gotten past slower. This way she would have gotten there much earlier and could have given them details when they caught up with her. If you still needed your fan service, you could have had her reappear a while before she got her clothes back or while she was dressing if it's really, really important to you. I didn't much see the point, but then again, who am I to complain? Also, not to focus on this, but Reed, look away. You're not even leering at this point. You've gone far beyond that. In fact, Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his pervy level?
It's over 9,000!
That's what I thought. Gotta give kudos to Chris Evans for not even sneaking a peek. Maybe he really is Captain America. Now, in the next scene, Dr. Doom tricks Ben Grimm into getting into the machine that will take away his power. He does this because he wants an extra dose of the cosmic storm in order to amp up his own juice. And it turns out the plan works. Ben turns human, and Dr. Doom basically smashes him against the wall 20 feet away. Now, how this doesn't cripple him? Well, it's movie magic. You can't nitpick every little thing. Then Doom just leaves him there to go and get the rest of them. Then Ben, who I might remind you has absolutely no scientific training and doesn't know this machine from a waffle iron, is somehow able to set it up to the correct levels in order to retransform him into the Thing. More than that, he's able to do this in a matter of a few minutes. It took him a couple of days to transform the first time, so clearly this machine must really amp up the charge time. Now, it's nitpicky, I'll grant it, but it really just doesn't feel like this scene is necessary. You could have just had Ben remain the Thing. Possibly having him call Dr. Doom, working with the machine. They get into a fight and he blasts Ben out the window. At this point, the audience wouldn't necessarily know that Ben could survive a fall from that far, so you still have the feeling of maybe Ben was gone. And then you can still have the reveal later, because that scene was actually pretty cool. Now, in the final and in fact the dumbest scene in this entire movie, Dr. Doom has captured Reed Richards and has brought him back to his basically underground lair, and he does this.
I was frozen today!
Yeah, I'm sorry, this does not happen. Reed would be 200 kinds of dead. Yes, he can stretch, but he is still a mortal man. And doing this would have killed him. This is Marvin the Martian science here. Luckily, the scene is very short. It is stupid, but you can get past it pretty quick. And honestly, that's all I can find in this movie that would be worth it, and two of them I consider to be nitpicks myself. Overall, this is an excellent adaptation of the Fantastic Four. While it has its flaws, I would say it's definitely entertaining. If you enjoy comic book movies at all, I would definitely advise you pick it up and give it a watch. I really did enjoy this movie, and I think you will too. Until then, my name is Vega Goose saying, I'll see you at the movie.